Welcome parents, teachers, administration, Board of Education members, family, friends, and class of 2009. So it seems like everyone starts their speech with either a confession that they had no idea what to write about, or an inspirational ideal that they want to share with their peers. Well, if I'm being honest, I really began thinking about what I wanted to say while listening to Miley Cyrus's The Climb while walking to school. In it, she says, "There's always going to be another mountain. I'm always going to want to make it move. Always going to be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm going to have to lose." As I listened, I thought about how incredibly corny the lyrics are and realized she was doing exactly what I wanted to avoid, sounding like a preachy, overly philosophical 18-year-old to an audience filled with doctors, lawyers, and other distinguished guests. So then, as I continued walking to school down Lafayette Avenue, I began thinking about all the little things this year that have made an impact on me. I got to vote in my first election and saw the first African-American president take office. I got my first speeding ticket and realized that the speed limit is not a general suggestion. I got to see a kid that we all grew up with, Pat Butler, have an opportunity to play with the Minnesota Twins. And then I began thinking about how incredibly slow my pace was, considering it was 7:38 a.m. and I was late to English, again. Whenever I'm late to this class, I try to avoid Mr. Alexis's gaze at all costs, instead staring over his shoulder at the whiteboard where his roommate, Mrs. Gagliardi, has conveniently written the quote of the day. Unexpectedly, my tardiness has led me to stumble upon some valuable words of wisdom that I would like to share with you today. The first quote I want to talk about is from Bruce Springsteen's Thunder Road. It reads, "The screen door slams, Mary's dress waves, like a vision she dances across the porch as the radio plays." Now, whether you're a Springsteen fan or not, I think most people will say that the image the lyrics evoke is beautiful. We all have stressful lives that are confusing and complex, especially now as we face an economic recession and begin our futures at universities across the country. Sometimes, though, we all just need to take some time to appreciate the beauty that surrounds us, whether by watching gentle waves roll onto the beach this summer, or by noticing a little boy holding a door open for a stream of customers at the mall. But when we find a dearth of beauty, we have the power to change the world for the better. I can think of no better way to illustrate this point than by mentioning Justin Moody, Grace Oakley, Jonathan Bender, Michael Cathcart, Faith Howes, Kyle Nealis, David Miller, David Fabian, and Ryan Sturm, all of whom have already committed themselves to such a lifelong endeavor by earning either the Girl Scout Gold Award or the title of Eagle Scout. They've dedicated hours upon hours of their time through their senior scouting projects to make the world a nicer place to live in for both children and adults alike. Mike Cathcart obtained the rights to build a nature trail behind Southern Boulevard School, complete with 14 nature stops, 3 benches, and 3 bridges. Grace Oakley set up a library for children in Belize. And Justin Moody added a hiking trail with a bridge through the woods bordering the Passaic River. Though I can't list every one of them, the projects are all amazing and deserve to be mentioned. These scouts, as well as our Key Clubbers, NHS members, youth ministries, and other neighborhood volunteers, set shining examples showing us that no matter where we are, serving the community will always make it a more beautiful place. On another hectic morning, when being greeted at the door of my English class with a "Bomer, where have you been?" I nervously diverted my eyes to a neatly scripted quote by T.S. Eliot that read, "Time you enjoyed wasting is not wasted time." I'd like to think that this quote applies to every circumstance, but T.S. Eliot died in 1965, so my guess is that he wasn't referring to 7 straight hours of Facebook stalking. However, I still love this quote because it reminds me not to let other people tell me what I should be doing in my spare time, what I like, or who I am. On top of that, sometimes the things that seem unproductive or unimportant to others are the things that inspire you most. One of my fondest memories of second grade is when Mrs. Stryker allowed Brittany A., Maria D., Christina G., Becca, Katie R., me, and the rest of our class to take an entire day off from the usual lesson plan to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. We dressed up as leprechauns and marched around the school singing, "The leprechauns are marching, they're marching down the halls," much to the amazement of other hardworking classes and teachers. That afternoon, as we wasted the day, I got my first lesson in respecting the beliefs and cultures of different nationalities. In third grade, I remember listening as Mrs. Weiss deviantly read aloud an extra chapter from our class novel, Skinny Bones, and watching her quake with suppressed giggles until she erupted with uncontrollable laughter. As she ran a finger under her tearing eye, trying without success to keep her mascara from running onto her cheek, she convinced me that there is no better way to waste time than by reading. Later, as a junior in high school, I could feel my heart dance when the new free reading summer assignment was announced. I could not believe my good fortune in being encouraged to read anything and everything I wanted for the whole summer. Hallelujah! Finally, teachers were supporting a policy that allowed me to whittle away my time reading, as I'd been loving to do since third grade. In fifth grade, Mr. Cronin set up a game called Shoot the Moon by hanging a bucket from the ceiling and challenging us to shoot an air dart into it for a prize. He was the only teacher who was able to subtly use a game to teach us about taking chances and reaching for the stars, while also allowing us our first glimpse of J.P. Carlton's basketball skills, as he became the first student to shoot the moon by doing a layup. Although textbooks and lectures taught us the facts, it was things that seemed meaningless and insignificant that taught me about life. Just as I was beginning to think that perpetual tardiness was some kind of disorder, I finally made it to English class before the bell, but still took a moment to glance at the whiteboard. It was habit at this point. There, in blue marker, was a quote by tennis player Martina Navratilova that read, "The moment of victory is much too short to live for that and nothing else." We all began high school with goals for learning, going to college, getting a job, or maybe just becoming a better person. And I'm sure, in one way or another, tonight marks the achievements of these ends. But what makes these last 4 years memorable isn't the end result, but the time we spent with our families, with teachers, with our community, and with each other. I hope when we look back at high school, we fondly remember Kara Ryan teaching us every day how to dress for success. Proudly handing over our student IDs for open campus. Peter News's deep operatic vibrato. The booming sound of Mr. Gibbs sneezing in the library. Screaming our lungs out at pep rallies. Dan Parzial's conviction that one day he will be our senator. Monsoon-like rain during our trip to the Bronx Zoo, our trip to Frost Valley, our junior prom, and our senior picnic. Swing dancing at senior prom and paying just $85 for the ticket because we were smart enough to elect Josh Baker as treasurer 4 years in a row. So it's with these fond memories in mind that we thank our teachers, mentors, and parents, thanks Mom and Dad, for the wonderful opportunities they gave us during our years in Chatham. You've got to admit, we've had a blast. Soon, we'll all be walking down different paths. I encourage you to seek to achieve beauty in the world around you, waste a little time, and above all, enjoy the journey. Thanks everyone, and congratulations to the Chatham High School class of 2009.